All right, so here's Try 3, the first week of Try 3. We're just going to spend the first couple weeks of the trimester right before we go into spring break, finishing up the Spanish Civil War. So we're going to look at specifically some aspects of the combatants and some of the battles that occurred. We'll start off with a little discussion on Monday, looking at some of the different groups, which some of you actually have already done because last week we looked at kind of the political ideas of the causes and the separation. Once we get into actual fighting, we'll look at who the combatants were and which foreign sides ended up going to which political groups that actually started to do some of the actual fighting. And then we'll kind of extend that a little bit more, getting specific into why certain foreign groups provided military equipment and actual soldiers versus others providing soldiers but not really through the government. So those are the two discussions that we're going to look on. But the majority of what you'll do Monday and Tuesday is work on this timeline, which is a summative. What you're going to basically do is create a presentation looking at three of these battles. So these are the major 6 battles that occurred during the Spanish Civil War. A lot of the Spanish Civil War, which is interesting if you look at Spanish history and you go back into the centuries, Spain has a long history of a very kind of embedded way of guerrilla fighting that goes back even during the 1800s against a lot of Napoleon's French armies. And that kind of happened again in the Civil War, and what eventually kind of played out was that there were these major areas, typically in urban places, where major fighting happened. Because remember, those urban centers were where the Republic basically had control, and the nationalists saw that by defeating those cities and taking control of them, that would be how the fascists would win, and the fascists do eventually take back control of Spain. So you're going to do a 3-slide presentation, 1 slide per battle, where you use visual images, words, and music, if possible, to present major facts, ideas, and effects of each of the 3 battles chosen in the Spanish Civil War. So again, you're not speaking, you're not doing any sort of presenting, you're just making a presentation that speaks to us, or to me, if you will, of those 3 things. And so you're going to spend a lot of your time kind of figuring out which ones you want to work on. I have a collection of different websites that can start your research. Obviously, you can add as much as you like to this. There's no reason to put any sort of bibliography together. A lot of this is just, as long as you're writing in your own words, you don't have to write very extensively. I'm just trying to get a basic idea of like what happened, or that you recognize, what were the impacts of the battles, or what happened in the battles as smoothly as you can. There's some specific things that are significant of them, and when you do some research online, you'll see that like some common pictures and ideas come out about each one of those. So again, 3 slides. It'll be due at the end of the week, and this is going to be a summative score. So that's it for week 1. I will give you a heads up that once we get back to after spring break with everybody being here in class, I'm going to kind of shift the presentation of the class a little bit. Typically, I do this in very unit-centered ways, and so when we come back and do a new unit, we're not really going to do the weekly stuff. It's all going to be presented as kind of a week or as a unit plan. And what I usually do for that is I let people kind of work ahead as much as they want. We've been kind of hampered here with the distance learning of trying to kind of keep people on a weekly basis so they don't get too far behind and too far ahead. So that's going to kind of change a little bit just to kind of keep you a heads up. But I mean, most of you do pretty well with this. So, and I think those people who have been struggling a little bit, mostly were just struggling because they weren't in class. So I think that'll be a significant help for a lot of people, or the majority of everyone in the class. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple weeks. Other than that, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.